What if the most powerful transformation of your life began with a single drawer? If you are a woman in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, you've likely built a life full of memories, relationships, and responsibilities. You've loved. You've lost. You've held families together, supported others before yourself, and filled your home with decades of stories. But somewhere along the way, those stories turned into boxes, closets, drawers, rooms you no longer enter. You look around and wonder, how did it get like this? And more importantly, where do I even begin? You are not alone. Most women I work with are not disorganized. They are overwhelmed. And they are not holding on to clutter. They are holding on to meaning, to motherhood, to marriage, to moments they are afraid to lose. Today, I want to share something different. Not just another list of decluttering tips, not more advice about containers or color-coded labels. I want to share 4 powerful emotional tools that professional organizers rarely teach women like you. These tools are gentle, practical, and deeply personal. They are designed for the woman you are today and the one you are still becoming. Because letting go is not about forgetting the life you have lived. It is about making room for the life that is still ahead. So take a breath. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. And this next chapter, it begins right here with you. 1. The Future Self Method. Let's begin with the first secret. I call it the Future Self Method, and it just might change the way you see everything in your home and in your life. You see, most professional organizers focus on sorting, labeling, and storing what you already have. But for many older women, that approach barely scratches the surface. Because your home is not just filled with objects, it is filled with decisions. Every item represents a choice you once made, a moment you once lived, or a part of yourself you are trying to hold on to. But here's the truth. The life you lived was beautiful. And now, you deserve to live beautifully again. Not by holding on to everything from your past, but by choosing what truly belongs in your future. That's the heart of the Future Self Method. Here's how it works. First, take a moment to imagine the woman you are becoming. Not who you were 5 or 10 years ago, not who others needed you to be, but the woman you are now and who you hope to be in the years ahead. Ask yourself, what do I want the next chapter of my life to look like? Maybe you want to host small dinners with friends around a table you can actually see. Maybe you want to wake up in a room filled with peace, not piles. Maybe you want to try painting again or quilting, or simply have a quiet space to read a book with a cup of tea. Whatever it is, write it down. Describe that vision. Let it come from your heart. This is your future self. She is wise. She is lighter. She is not defined by what she has, but by what she feels when she walks through her space. Now, as you begin to look at the things around you, the dishes, the decor, the linens, the gifts still in boxes, the things you've been moving from shelf to shelf, don't ask yourself, should I keep this? That question keeps you stuck in the past. Instead, ask yourself, does this belong in the life I am creating now? That single shift changes everything. Let me tell you about Carolyn. She is 68 years old, recently retired, and recently widowed. Her home was filled with memories, some joyful, some heavy, and so many things that no longer served her life today. When I first met Carolyn, she told me she felt like a stranger in her own home. Every room reminded her of what was, but not what could be. When I asked her to write a vision for her future self, she surprised herself. She wrote, "I want to walk into my home and feel peace. I want to host my grandchildren. I want to sit near a window and start painting again." That was the first moment she smiled during our conversation. Over the next few weeks, Carolyn stopped asking, "Should I keep this?" she started asking, "Does this belong in my future?" She kept one beautiful tea set for hosting her granddaughter's pretend parties. She let go of the formal silver she hadn't used in 20 years. She transformed her guest room, which had become a storage space for her husband's things, into a light-filled art corner with watercolor supplies. She did not forget her husband. She honored him by creating space for herself. That's what this method is all about. Creating space, not just in your home, but in your spirit. So I invite you to try it. Today, this week, choose one small area, a drawer, a shelf, a corner of a room. Before you pick up anything, take a breath. Say to yourself, "I am choosing with my future in mind." And then ask that gentle but powerful question. Does this belong in the life I am creating now? You don't have to do it all at once. This is not about rushing. This is not about proving anything. This is about honoring your own next chapter and doing it with grace. Let me remind you, letting go does not mean letting go of who you are. It means making space for more of who you want to be. And the woman you're becoming, she deserves a home that reflects her fully. Not her past, not her obligations, but her possibility. 2. The legacy timeline technique. Let's talk about the second secret, one that is especially meaningful for women who have lived full, generous, deeply connected lives. I call it the legacy timeline technique. Now, this might be a little difficult to hear at first, but I want you to stay with me because what I'm about to share can bring an incredible sense of freedom. Here it is. Most adult children, about 65% according to research, do not want the things we've spent a lifetime saving for them. Not the fine china, not the crystal, not the 12 boxes of holiday decorations, or every school project from kindergarten to high school. I know that may sting. Many of us have spent years preserving family history, holding on to heirlooms, storing keepsakes, with the beautiful intention of passing it all down. You saved your wedding dress in case a granddaughter might wear it. You kept your mother's dishes, your uncle's war medals, your children's baby clothes, all for the people you love most. But here's the truth that professional organizers often avoid because it's hard to say out loud. Your memories are precious, but your loved ones may not connect with your items in the same way you do. And that doesn't mean they don't love you. It just means they love differently. They live differently. So, what do you do with a lifetime of sentimental belongings when the next generation may not want them? This is where the legacy timeline technique can change everything. Here's how it works. First, instead of holding on to everything just in case, we begin making intentional choices based on reality and relationships, not assumptions. Start by creating 3 clear categories for your sentimental items. Category 1. Enjoy now. These are things you still love and can use or display today. Maybe it's your favorite quilt from your mother or the tea set your aunt gave you. Don't hide them away. Use them. See them. Let them bring you joy. Category 2. Document and release. These are items that carry meaning but may no longer serve a purpose in your space. Take photos. Scan letters. Create a digital archive of recipes, artwork, or old family photos. The memory stays. The item can go. Category 3. Pass down now. This is the most powerful shift. Instead of waiting until you're no longer here, consider sharing these treasures while you're still able to tell the stories behind them. Let me tell you about Barbara. She was 74 years old and had lived in her home for over 40 years. Every closet, cabinet, and spare room held generations of family history, most of it untouched, all of it saved for her children and grandchildren. When I shared the research with her, she was quiet. Then she said, "I never asked them what they actually wanted. I just assumed." So she picked a weekend, made lunch, and invited her daughters over. At the table, she gently asked, "If you could choose just a few things that truly matter to you from this home, what would they be?" What happened next surprised her. One daughter had always loved a painting in the hallway, but had never mentioned it. Another wanted the handwritten recipe box, but not the dishes. Neither wanted the formal china. And both were honest about feeling overwhelmed at the thought of storing things they would never use. Barbara felt something release in her chest. She wasn't sad. She was relieved. Because now she knew the truth. And she could make choices with clarity, not guilt. Together, they sorted, laughed, and told stories. They created a small photo album of favorite items. They wrote down family memories in Barbara's handwriting. And Barbara gave her daughters gifts, not burdens, while she could see them appreciated. That's the power of the legacy timeline. It honors the past and the present. It allows you to curate your legacy instead of leaving behind a mystery. So I invite you to ask the question, what would it feel like to begin giving your treasures now, with love and intention? Imagine watching your granddaughter wear your locket, hearing your son laugh over an old photo, or baking with your daughter using the same rolling pin your own mother used, not someday, but now. Legacy is not about things, it's about connection. And you get to decide how that connection is shared. So take a breath. This is not about erasing your history. It's about shaping it, thoughtfully, purposefully, with love. 3. The emotional anchoring system. Now, let's move into the third decluttering secret. And I'll be honest with you, this one may touch your heart in a very tender place. I call it the emotional anchoring system. And it's something that professional organizers almost never talk about, even though it's often the real reason people struggle to let go. Because the truth is, for women like us, clutter is rarely just about stuff. It's about love. It's about identity. It's about connection. When I sit down with women who feel stuck, it's not because they don't know how to sort. It's because they're afraid that by letting go of certain objects, they'll lose parts of themselves. Or worse, lose the people those objects remind them of. Maybe you've felt it too. Maybe you've stood in front of a closet full of your late husband's clothes and thought, if I let these go, will I forget the way he smelled? Maybe you've held your child's tiny shoes from 40 years ago and whispered, how did it all go by so fast? This is not disorganization. This is grief. This is love that has nowhere to go. And that's where this system comes in. Not to take things away from you, but to help you hold on in a way that brings comfort, not clutter. Here's how it works. Step 1. Identify the story behind the stuff. Choose one category of items that's hard for you. Maybe your spouse's belongings, your children's keepsakes, or even things from your career. Now ask yourself, what am I really holding on to? What feeling, what memory, what identity? For example, when I worked with Joyce, a 71-year-old former teacher, she had dozens of boxes from her classroom. Worksheets, decorations, letters from students, even the old lesson plans she had written by hand. When I asked her why she kept them, she said softly, I was proud of that part of my life. I felt seen. I felt like I mattered. And there it was, the real anchor. It wasn't about the papers. It was about being valued. Step 2. Choose 1 or 2 signature items to represent that story. You don't have to keep everything, but you can keep the right thing. For Joyce, it was a wooden apple-shaped plaque that her students had signed the year she retired. She hung it in her office. She let the rest go, knowing her story still had a home. For another woman I worked with, it was her husband's favorite flannel shirt. She didn't keep the closet full, just that one, and she had it made into a pillow she could hold. This is the moment where the emotional weight starts to lift. Not because you've forgotten, but because you've honored the memory in a new form. Step 3. Create alternative anchors. Sometimes, the best way to preserve a memory is through ritual, documentation, or transformation. If you're not ready to let go completely, try this. Take photos of sentimental groupings, your child's toys, your spouse's tools, your parents' keepsakes, and create a small memory book. Invite your family to help. Share the stories. Let them pick something that speaks to them. Use a beloved item in a new way, like turning old shirts into a quilt or framing your mother's recipe card in the kitchen. Letting go becomes easier when we know that the love will stay with us, in a new shape, in a new place, in a new way. Let me tell you about Margaret. She had been widowed for 6 years. Her husband's workshop had remained untouched, covered in dust, still exactly the way he left it. She told me, "I just couldn't go in. It felt like closing the door on him." So we did something different. We didn't start by sorting. We started by remembering. She picked up his favorite hammer and told me a story about the time he built their kitchen table with it. By hand. She smiled. She cried. And then she said, "That's the one I want to keep." Together, we placed that hammer in a shadow box with a photo of him at work, and we hung it in her reading nook. It became a tribute, not a burden. A sacred presence in a space she could finally enjoy again. The rest of the tools? She invited her sons and grandsons to choose one each. They sat around that kitchen table and shared memories as they picked. By the end, Margaret had reclaimed the workshop as a quiet space for herself, with soft light, books, and a cozy chair. She didn't feel like she had lost him. She felt like she had found a new way to bring him into her everyday life. That is what the emotional anchoring system can do. It helps you move from sorrow to gratitude, from fear to peace. It teaches you that you don't have to carry everything in your hands to carry it in your heart. So I invite you, take a moment today to ask yourself, what story am I holding on to? And how can I honor it without holding on to everything? You are not discarding your life. You are curating it. And in doing so, you create more space, not just in your home, but in your soul. 4. The Threshold Mastery Protocol. Now that you've learned how to gently let go of the past, it's time to talk about how to protect your future. This final secret is the one that keeps your progress from quietly slipping away. I call it the Threshold Mastery Protocol, and it might be the most life-changing part of all. Because here's something that surprises many people. Most clutter doesn't come from what we've kept. It comes from what we keep letting in. Studies show that nearly 80% of people who go through a major decluttering process end up right back where they started within 18 months. Why? Because they didn't change the flow. They focused only on what they were getting rid of, not on what they were allowing in. If you've ever cleared a room only to find it slowly fill back up again, you already know this cycle. But the good news is, there's a way out, a way forward. That's what the Threshold Mastery Protocol is all about. Let me tell you about Nancy. Nancy is 72. She's retired, active in her church, and the kind of woman everyone trusts, which also meant she had become what I call the keeper. When her friends downsized, they gave things to Nancy. When her grown kids moved, they left boxes behind with Nancy. And when she shopped, she often bought just in case, or because it was a good deal. One day she told me, "I feel like my home has become a storage unit for other people's lives." If you've ever felt that way, I want you to know, you are not alone. Many women at this stage of life carry an invisible burden, the sense that they should keep things, for others, for memories, for emergencies, or just because they always have. But what would it feel like to walk through your door and know that everything inside truly belongs to your life now? That's what this system gives you. A way to say yes and no with confidence and peace. Here's how it works. Step 1. Identify your personal clutter triggers. These are the patterns that lead to accumulation. You don't need to judge yourself. Just be honest. There are a few common ones. Emotional purchasing. Buying things to soothe loneliness or fill time. Aspirational accumulation. Collecting items for a version of yourself you no longer live as. Inherited responsibility. Feeling obligated to hold on to items from others. Abundance mindset hangover. Keeping extra because of earlier times when money or resources were tight. When Nancy reflected, she realized she was saying yes out of guilt. She didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and sometimes she just didn't want to seem ungrateful. But the cost of always saying yes was her peace. Step 2. Create your personal threshold questions. These are powerful filters you'll use anytime something new tries to enter your space. Forget the usual, "Do I need this?" That's not enough. Ask deeper questions like, "Am I saying yes out of obligation or desire? Does this item serve my actual life today, not the life I used to live? If I say yes to storing this, what am I saying no to in terms of space, freedom, and peace?" These questions gently shift the moment of decision from automatic to intentional. Step 3. Practice the 48-hour pause. This is the most practical and protective part of the protocol. From now on, when you consider bringing anything new into your home, whether it's a gift, a purchase, or a donation from someone else, give yourself at least 48 hours before accepting or placing it. Create a consideration shelf near your entryway, or even a simple box in a corner. Let new items rest there. Look at them with fresh eyes after a few days. Ask yourself again, does this truly belong in the life I want now? Nancy started doing this, and within weeks, her patterns changed. She stopped shopping out of habit. She politely declined items she didn't need. She even donated things she had accepted before out of guilt, now knowing she was not rejecting people, just reclaiming her space. She said, "I feel like I finally became the gatekeeper of my own home." And isn't that what we all deserve? Your home is not just a place where things live, it's where you live. And as your seasons change, your home should change with you, becoming simpler, clearer, and more nourishing for who you are now. So before we move on to the final reflections, I want to leave you with this question. What would it feel like to treat your home as sacred space, where only what serves your soul is allowed in? That is the heart of threshold mastery. You don't have to live as the keeper of other people's things. You can live as the curator of your own peace. Letting go is one kind of power. But learning to say a gentle, thoughtful no, that is the kind of power that protects everything you've worked so hard to reclaim. Take a moment. Breathe. You've just walked through 4 powerful, compassionate shifts that most professional organizers never talk about. Because these aren't just about tidying a home. They are about transforming a life. I want to remind you, it is never too late to choose peace. It is never too late to release the weight. It is never too late to start again, surrounded only by what truly supports you. Your worth is not measured by how much you store. It is honored by how you choose. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, but I don't know where to begin. That's okay. You are not behind. You are not alone. Even one drawer, one shelf, one gentle decision is enough to begin. Here's something you can do today. Look around your home and choose one item, just one, that you know does not belong in your next chapter. Thank it for the role it played in your story, and then let it go. Because that is what this journey is really about. Not making your space look a certain way, but making your space feel like freedom. And before we close, I would love to hear from you. If you could describe your ideal home in one word, what would that word be? Is it peaceful, spacious, joyful, light? Share that word in the comments. Let it be a small promise you make to yourself, a vision to hold on to as you gently move forward. And if you found this message helpful, if it stirred something in your heart, please share it with another woman in your life, a sister, a friend, a neighbor, someone who may be carrying too much and just needs a little permission to begin releasing. Because sometimes the most loving thing we can do is let go. And sometimes the most powerful thing we can feel is light. Thank you for spending this time with me here on Wise Elders Insight. You are seen, you are strong, and you are deeply deserving of a home that holds you with the same grace you've shown others for so many years.